I'll also tell you an interesting thing that I read in some research. It turns out that, and I also talked to therapists, also from Respirit Me, an older married couple, a lot of parents come to them with children who feel lonely, children who are already starting to experience depression, maybe not so little, but starting from around 10 years old and up, that's when the problem begins. It's something that I feel didn't even exist 15 or 20 years ago, right? The question is, where does it come from?
Exactly. You see, we used to talk about loneliness, that it was more about, when someone gets divorced and a woman or a man feels lonely, feels misunderstood, abandoned, or the empty nest syndrome when parents really devoted their whole lives to their children and suddenly the children grew up. It usually happens very quickly. They left the nest and the parents feel like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? Who am I supposed to take care of? There's also this emptiness, and then a person can feel lonely. When someone loses a loved one, when someone dies and you're left alone, well, that's kind of logical. However, the fact that even with an intact family, someone in the family or a child feels lonely, well, that's actually a very complex problem. And I think, just like you said, that here, both the internet and our pace of life, and well, I don't want it to sound like it's the parents' fault either. It's not the parents' fault. It's probably just our pace of life that we don't really form deeper relationships with our children because it used to be different. Everything was different. We functioned differently. We even built relationships with our friends differently. I remember times when, well, there were no cell phones and even landline phones weren't in every home. And to go to a friend's place for coffee or tea, you didn't have to call and make plans 2 weeks in advance to see if she had time and if we would meet. You would just go to the store, buy something, some cookies, so you wouldn't come empty-handed and knock on the door. If she was home, great, I just dropped by for coffee. If she wasn't home, oh well, I'll come next time. That's how it was. Now it's completely different. Now we make appointments and very often it's like, oh, that date doesn't work for me or that date doesn't work for me, and we see our friends once in a while. And what do we talk about? And we talk about the weather, what's generally going on. We don't get into really deep relationships or emotions. And it's the same with children. A child comes home from school with a lot of information and different feelings in their head, and they would like to share them with their parents, but the parent is really busy at that time. Because they also just got back from work, or someone is working remotely, always working on something, doing something else, maybe some side work. So the pace of life definitely has its impact. And also what you said about food. It's extremely important that our gut flora, the bacteria living in our intestines, actually controls our lives, our hormones, and our cravings. And depending on how we feed it, that's the kind of flora we'll have, either the healthy one that supports us and our health, or unfortunately the pathogenic one.